Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today is an awesome day because we're going to get to test ride and review that Harley Davidson. So let's cue the intro and we'll jump straight into it. So today I have the Harley Davidson Sport Glide for the entire day. This bike is not cheap. It's just over 17 grand starting from, but it's a beast. So let's go through a few of the specs of this awesome bike. So I'm going to be open and honest, I've only ridden a Harley twice and both times was literally down the road and back. So I don't have a massive amount of experience on these bikes, but I've ridden it from the dealership to here and I've got to turn around and say it's got a lot of torque, but we'll go into that in a minute. First of all, we've got the 107. That's the cubic inch in the engine. Now, I always thought that was the size of the balls of the man that used to ride it, but apparently they don't do horsepower, they do cubic inch. 107. Still think it's the size of the balls, what means I've suddenly got massive balls. So this massive engine here is the Milwaukee 8. This produces 1,445 cc's. The torque on this bike is absolutely incredible, but look at that engine. It is just huge, like massive knuckles. I love it. That is just an engine you could stare at all day. So of course, seating position, this being a bagger means that you sit down nice and low, and that seat looks like you're sitting in an armchair. But if you see, it's got the well popular forward facing controls of a Harley Davidson. Now I'm 5'8", and for me, that's absolutely perfect. I've got long legs, but what a position. It's alien to me to have forward-facing controls, but it looks cool, doesn't it? And it feels really comfortable. I've not gone very far, and of course I am going to be riding it soon, and we're going to do some distance to see what this bike's really like. I'm already finding the position of my back is kind of slightly forwards. That might be because I'm not used to it, and I'm on full reach on these handlebars as well. So maybe after a few miles I'll find it uncomfortable, but so far I'm just grinning. So it'll be interesting a few more miles down the lane. Now the other thing I love about this bike as well is the look of that exhaust. That is stunning, a 2-in-1 exhaust. And wait until you hear the sound, but look. But should we fire it up so you can hear the sound yourself? So I was talking about torque, but let me give you the stats of torque. 139 newton meters of torque. So when you pull the throttle back, it literally goes whoa, and you have to be gentle, otherwise it feels like it's going to wheelie. And these aren't light bikes. So the weight of this is 317 kilograms. Like I said, it's not a light bike, but because you're so low down in that comfortable seat, it doesn't feel too bad. It doesn't feel like it weighs as much as it says it does. But I suppose that's the beauty of having a low bike with a low engine and a low seat height. It's pretty good. And the good thing with this bike, it comes with 2 panniers on the back, and you just lift the handle up, slide it down, and I can get my rucksack in there, and I've got my drone in there. There's loads of extra room. So this really is a bag that you could take on tour. Obviously there's loads of aftermarket accessories. You can get a rack on the back, get one of the bags. So for touring, it's got everything you need for Harley for a reasonable entry price. Now when it comes down to all of the equipment that you get, obviously you get your self-cancelling indicators. This one comes with cruise control as well. It makes an incredible difference on a long ride. The clock itself is just quite basic. It's not all that digital side of things with the TFT, but it has obviously got a small digital display for things like fuel, how many miles you're doing. It's changed, but it's got all the standard bike stuff that you've got. It's nice and neat, and actually it's quite nice not to see a massive digital display there. Of course I could talk all day like it's got a single front brake, etc, 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 but that's boring. And what I want to do is actually get riding, because I've literally ridden this around the corner from Uppingham Sycamore House. It's Chris is a sales guy you need to sort of ask there to get out on a test ride on this bike. But that dealership have given it for us for a day just to prove how good it is. So let's put it on the road, let's find out. So, of course, the most important thing is getting on the road and testing this. And the big plan of it is to go and get 3 of the best pork pies in the world and do quite a lot of miles to achieve that, to review and test this bike properly. But of course, today I've got with me Fentor on the Fat Boy. Now, he actually arranged for this whole thing to happen today, so a massive shout out to him. To check out his channel, he's got his own video coming out about that bike and all the other stuff, so you'll get a bit of cross audio, but we're going to concentrate on this one today. So let's get on the bike, let's do its first proper spin, and let's see how awesome this actually is. And let's do more than just down the road for the first ever time on a Harley as well on this channel. Straight away, listen to the sweetness of this engine. I don't want to turn the throttle too quick because we're on gravel at the minute and I am still not used to this bike or having my feet forward. What's a completely different review to many people that are used to doing it, having their feet forwards and riding these kind of bikes. This is alien to me. What's really cool, coming back from more of an adventure Honda monkey bike, motocross kind of background, into this bad boy. So here we go. Now it's just got to get used to being able to turn it. But to be fair, a lot of fear I think with people with Harleys have is taking the bends. But these forward controls seem quite high off of the floor. So it'll be interesting again once we get going if we can get any scraping at all going on. Because I've got a feeling I'm not going to get it done. To be fair, I do feel a lot more comfortable to normal, more of a natural position. I don't know about quite having my legs open as much as they are on this as a natural position, but it does feel quite good. So maybe they are my natural position, but these very widely spread legs, quite forward. I know they make controls that go even more forward than these as well, but for me this feels ideal, and I've got a lot of room on the pegs I can go back and forwards for as well. I'm going to turn the throttle, listen to the engine go. Oh, that's sweet. That is very, very, very sweet. Now, Fentor behind me already owns a Harley. He's massively into his bikes, and you can see he's already a natural at riding it. But do you find it any different jumping between your bikes, sort of more your GS, your adventure bikes, onto a Harley?
No, I just switch automatically. But it's just that initial foot position that's different. But you just got to remember where the pegs are when swapping between bikes. Otherwise, dead easy.
The one thing I'm finding from this fairing is I'm getting absolutely blasted by the wind. This small fairing here, it's hitting me straight on the helmet. Now, on a hot day like this, that's perfect and absolutely amazing. I'm not sure on a long tour if I'd probably go for a slightly bigger screen to get rid of that wind blast.
The great thing though, Alan, with Harley is you can have whatever screen you want. So many options, just clip on.
Well, that's the best bit, isn't it? These are so customizable. They sell an incredible amount. Well, the whole thing is you just customize. Everybody customizes the Harley. You buy it, you spend a lot of money, and then you spend a lot more money making it your own. Should we find out what this 107 engine is like for power now? Once I can turn my indicators off. Ready? Here we go. Let's turn the throttle. Whoa! And we got to brake because we got gravel ahead. Second gear, almost hitting the speed limit though. It's got a lot in it. You don't really have to change gear very often if you didn't want to. That is for sure. So we're in a busy town called Stamford, and I've ridden the bike through obviously the town itself. Lots of roads being closed, so I've had to do quite a lot of turning the bike around. And it is quite heavy, to be honest with you. But you can do it, but you do feel the weight. But I've been to Stamford to get my first pork pie while we stare at this beautiful bike. And I like the bike more and more and more, especially with pie. Right then, well, after a very satisfying pie, because that's what you do when you're on a Harley, you just now eat pie, we're going to head to another pie shop what's a good chunk away, and we'll hopefully find some nice roads. If I can turn the bike on, that's it, and then that button. Alright, so straight off the side stand, no issue again with weight there. I have had to turn this bike around a couple of times, and I did find it quite heavy on little narrow roads, and they were cobble roads as well. But it's not the ideal place for one of these, of course, but I did do it, and I did it by myself, and I wouldn't say I am a big muscly man, more of just a good looking hunk of a bloke, as always. being a lord, massively in shape, not fat at all in any way. But yeah, I wouldn't say these are ideal around town, but easily done. That's probably the best thing I can say about the Harley in this situation. There we go. So to nip around cars, quite clearly, no issue whatsoever at all. And once you get going, like I said, you don't feel the weight. It feels really low down and just well planted. But yeah, poodling around the towns and stuff, just not a city bike for me, unfortunately, due to the size of it. But nothing stopping you from doing it, just more comfort than anything else. You can see Fentor there on his Fat Boy, and he keeps saying Arnold Schwarzenegger quotes over the comms, and he keeps threatening to pull out his gun, and he just needs some pink sunglasses on, dead spit of Arnie. Anyway, let's get some mileage done. Let's get out of this town. It's baking hot. I want to get the miles open. I want to feel this bike and get to know it better and better and better. So far I am liking it more and more and more. It's got to be said. I'm already finding that I'm naturally putting my feet on the pegs forward. When I first got on it, being used to, you know, the normal back controls on a bike, then I wasn't, you know, I was struggling to go, oh, this is where my foot goes. But it's very quickly I've got used to the positioning and the comfort. I can move forwards and back on the seat as well, so I've got a feeling if I was on a long ride, I've got a little bit of room to move around. I don't know about the handlebars yet. I don't know if I like them a little bit more closer to me or not, but then saying that, I slightly lean forwards and there is a nice bit of bend there. But open road is going to tell more. So let's open this bad boy up, let's get some miles under our belts, and of course, let's make it cinematic.
A new place, a new home, for a while, let me feel alive. Nothing to hold me back, take my time, just enjoy the ride. A new man passing by, life is good, best I've ever felt. Get me up, somewhere new, somewhere I can find myself. Oh, I feel so alive. As I reach out to the sky.
So, taking these out of the town and onto some proper country roads, they're a blast. This Sport Glide is, look at it, it flies. It's almost meant for this sort of riding. This sit back, cruising, country lane, it comes into its own element, and I am not finding any issue with the pegs. It was one of my biggest concerns about riding a Harley around the country, is scraping these pegs everywhere I go, but where they've positioned them on this bike so far, it's fine. I'm not worrying about my lean angle, I'm not worried I'm going to end up coming off or scraping or doing anything silly. It kind of puts away a lot of myths about these bikes that I was generally concerned about, and they've all kind of gone already. And my excitement and joy of riding this is just getting more and more and more and more and more. And because of that low down 107 cubic inch beast of an engine, it just flies. Whoa! And the brakes are plentiful. There is no issue with these Harley brakes. Obviously these guys know what they've done it by doing. They've been building bikes for such a long time, and it shows. The quality and the feel is there. When you stop in like a village, when I'm swapping over the cameras and stuff, the engine gives me that little bit of a rock, that little bit of a feel in that 1-2-3, that 1-2-3, and I love it. I am falling more and more for this bike the further and further that we ride. Now we're still on our way to get our second port buy. Like I said, most reviews you get the bikes not for a lot of time, but the biggest thing, the most important thing, and thank you again so much to Sycamore, the Uppingham Harley Davidson dealership, giving it us for the whole day to really experience these bikes and get a better feel. Makes a big difference to this review, because this is the first time sort of riding a Harley review anywhere of any distance. Is really showing how great these bikes are. Now I don't know if I'd go back and buy one this second, but it's getting me there the more and more I ride it. And imagining doing an awesome road trip on this could be incredible. It could be that bike that when you get to the other end, you still feel reasonably comfortable, because it's got this nice position. I'm kind of tucked in quite nicely on the seat. My legs aren't hurting yet, my arms aren't hurting. We're now made it to our second pork pie shop, and apparently this is what Harley riders do. Ventor is a Harley rider and he does this every day. Eats pie and drink lemonade. No hardcore beer, what I always thought Harley riders did. It's just lemonade and pie while they look at their bikes with a little bit of enjoyment coming out, because the more you ride it, the more you kind of fall for the bike. I'm not going to use the L word quite yet, because next I'll be proposing, and that could be a little bit wrong. But pork pie and Harleys go together. Right, let's rock and roll then. So we are going, I love when this bike, it chunk 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 when it starts. We're going to our final pork pie destination, our final bit there, and then from there with the bike is going back. But like I said, the hardest thing for me right now is not to drop the L word, because yeah, if I get divorced from it, it's, you know, like anything, it could get potentially quite messy. But it's an incredible machine. My biggest thing about this is this: if you get a chance, go and speak to Uppingham Harley Davidson and jump on one of their bikes and go for a test ride, because I think there's a stigma behind these bikes regardless, and I think until you've really ridden one and had one and enjoyed it for a little bit, that stigma starts to disappear. So I'm really enjoying this. Anyway, before I gush too much already, I'm going to go and get myself that final pork pie and get those final thoughts into place, and find a few more rows to turn the throttle and hear the sound of that 107 engine.
Caught behind Venetian blinds, out of reach for the city lights. This ain't where I belong. Hey, look at me, man, what I become.
So I'm just about to finish the last part of my third pork pie, because that's what Harley riders do, and enjoy another sip of lemonade. But the Sport Glide has been incredible. It has stolen my heart a little bit and does make me want one. And I know a lot of people are going to hate me for saying it, because there's such a love and hate with Harley, but I've got to say, you've got to go down to Uppingham, you've got to test one, and you've got to see what I'm talking about, because there's something about this that's quite special, quite unique, and you feel really cool. You've got your luggage space in this to put all your stuff in to go for a trip. It's got so much torque, it will keep you grinning all day. And the positioning is unbelievably comfortable. That engine, that 107 engine, is incredible. So ladies and gentlemen, all I can say is I've got a problem now, because I want one.